In 1938, the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini decided that his country needed some grand spectacles to distract its citizens from their economic woes. So he set about excavating the ruins of the ancient Roman city of Pompeii, which had been buried by volcanic ash in 79 AD, encasing its citizens in stone and perfectly preserving its artifacts. In order to excavate the site quickly, Mussolini turned the work into a massive public works project, employing thousands of people who cleared away debris and shipped the art and artifacts they found to museums across Italy. Most of these treasures were sold to private collectors or shipped out of the country illegally, but many ended up on display in Rome, where the fascist government proudly proclaimed that the Romans of today were the inheritors of the glories of the Romans of old. You are not the first to visit the Forum Romanum. For centuries, pilgrims have come here to see the ruins of the greatest city in the ancient world. In 1541, the French military engineer and architect Charles de Brossa included the Forum in his map of Rome. 400 years later, the area had become so overgrown that an author writing in 1867 could describe the Forum as nothing more than a field full of weeds and grass. Today, excavations have revealed much of the grandeur that once was here. But even so, visitors still often struggle to visualize what the Forum would have looked like during the days of the empire. So here you are transported back in time to the heart of ancient Rome. Around you are the bustling crowds, vendors selling their wares and politicians making their pitches. There are senators heading to the Temple of Saturn, where they keep their money, and nearby, men of lower status do business in the shops and workshops of the winding streets. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, you pass by the Column of Facas, where criminals are publicly executed. On another street, children chase pigeons and stray dogs through the shadows cast by the towering walls of the Senate House. Later, as the crowd grows thinner, you stand alone in the middle of the Forum, taking in the vastness of the ruins around you. In the distance, you can hear the roar of the lions at the Colosseum. But here, in the heart of the ancient city, all is quiet. The wind whispers through the broken arches and carries with it the ghost of Rome's greatest days. Now take a deep breath and let yourself relax. The midday sun beats down on the Forum, the central marketplace, political hub and social center of ancient Rome. All around you are stalls overflowing with fresh produce. You can buy figs, dates, and grapes piled high from the south, oil from Greece, and fish from North Africa. Further on, a cobbler mends a leather sandal at his shopfront. Nearby, a bronze statue of a Roman emperor glitters in the sun. Nearby, a group of men play a game of dice while a caged nightingale warbles sweetly nearby. Some men sit on nearby benches and argue loudly about politics. They speak of Gaius Caesar, the young, dynamic leader who has just returned from his victory in Gaul. Others praise Marcus Brutus, his rival, whose family name echoes with the glory of Rome's founding. You smile politely and nod your head, though you don't really understand their talk. You came to Rome to make your fortune, not to get mixed up in local squabbles. As the day wears on, the crowds grow thicker and the heat grows more intense. You rest a while, then decide to find someplace cooler to conduct your business. Leaving the Forum, you head toward the Palatine Hill, home to the emperors and Rome's elite. The year is 50 for AD and Rome is in the midst of a heat wave. You, a prosperous merchant from Alexandria, have come to the Eternal City to hawk your wares. Along the way, you have heard much about the power and grandeur of Rome. Surely here in the Emperor's Palace you will see wonders beyond compare. You arrive at the base of the Palatine, climb the steep path and push open the heavy doors. Inside, everything is cool and still. The only sound is the distant murmur of voices. Before you lies the Imperial Palace, a labyrinth of courtyards, fountains, and gardens. All around you are marble statues and fountains. In the distance, you can see servants carrying silver trays laden with fruit and gold goblets. You walk through a series of archways and emerge into a courtyard. There in the center stands a bronze statue of Augustus Caesar, the first emperor of Rome. You gaze at the emperor's stern visage and think about how powerful he must have been to rule over such a vast empire. You shiver as you realize how close you are to greatness. Suddenly, a group of courtiers approaches. Their robes are embroidered with gold thread and their sandals are adorned with precious gems. They bow their heads to you and you return the gesture. After all, you are in the presence of the emperor's court. What a privilege it is to see them up close. A servant comes up to you and asks what you wish to see. You tell him about the fabled Palatine Hill, the legendary birthplace of Rome. He smiles politely, knowing that most visitors are too naive to realize that the hill was built by the emperors to impress the likes of you. He leads you through a series of secret passages and into the private gardens of the emperors. Here, surrounded by exotic plants and flowers, you can almost forget that you are in the heart of the greatest city in the world. Almost, for soon you hear the roar of the crowds as they gather to watch the gladiators fight to the death in the Colosseum. You know that you will never forget this moment, never forget the majesty of Rome. It's time to go. You leave the palace behind and head back to the Forum. As you walk, you can't help but feel like you've seen only a fraction of what Rome has to offer. There are rumors of a sewer system under the city, secret passageways under the Forum, and a whole other world hidden beneath the bustling streets. You wonder if any of it is true, if there's more to Rome than meets the eye. As you reach the Forum, you resolve to stay in the city longer and uncover all of Rome's secrets. Have you ever been somewhere so beautiful it made you cry? I have. This trip to Italy brought me face to face with history, and one sight reduced me to tears. Not the Colosseum, not the Pantheon. Wait till I show you. But first, let's move now, away from the creaking tenement stairs and into the marbled halls of Roman politics. But don't expect peace here either. We now follow a man of letters, of law, and a dangerous ambition. Marcus Tullius Cicero, or simply Cicero, as history remembers him. Close your eyes, picture the Roman Forum, columns rising like ancient teeth, the shuffle of sandals on smooth stone, men in togas whispering behind hands, watching, waiting. And there, in the center, a voice rises, measured, elegant, sharp as a gladius. It is Cicero. But before the orations, before the Senate, he was just a boy from Arpinum, a dusty provincial town, far from Rome's glittering heart. He wasn't noble. He wasn't rich. He didn't inherit status. He earned it. His weapon was his mind. He studied law, rhetoric, philosophy. He spoke with such precision that even Rome's most jaded senators leaned to listen. By the age of 30, he was already gaining attention and enemies. Now imagine him standing in court, tunic crisp, expression composed, but his heart pounding under layers of linen. He is defending the Republic, not with swords, but with sentences. He rises through the ranks of quaestor, aedile, praetor, consul. It was during his consulship that he made his name and sealed his fate. The Catiline conspiracy, a plot to overthrow the Roman government. Cicero uncovered it, exposed it, and ordered the execution of the conspirators without a trial. Some called him a savior. Others called him a tyrant in disguise. And when the political wind shifted, Cicero found himself exiled, alone, disgraced. Imagine him on the road out of Rome, the dust of exile clinging to his cloak, his hands, once used to pen speeches, now gripping the reins of a horse headed nowhere. He returns years later, but Rome had changed. Julius Caesar now loomed large, and Cicero, once bold, now played it safe to safe. Then came Caesar's assassination, a last chance to restore the Republic, and Cicero tried. He published the Philippics, a series of speeches attacking Mark Antony, Caesar's powerful ally, and for this, he was marked. One morning, as he traveled by litter near the coast, he was intercepted by soldiers. He did not run. He did not scream. He offered his neck. His head and hands were taken, displayed in the Forum where he once spoke. Legend says Antony's wife, Fulvia, stabbed his tongue with a hairpin, a final, mocking silence. And yet, Cicero's voice lives on. His writings, his philosophy, his orations, they survived where armies and emperors did not. And so, in this quiet hour, we remember a man who chose to speak, even when it cost him everything. When you're ready to drift even deeper, tap continue for more. Or if it's time to say goodbye, just close your eyes and dream of Rome. I don't think there's anywhere else I'd rather be right now. Oh look, that's incredible. This is actually extraordinary. It's just such a beautiful blue. I love it. I can't believe it's real. It's pretty remarkable. That's a fact. Yeah. Did you know they think this was once the world's tallest artificial reef? Artificial reef. Well, it was created by human hands. And if you're ready to continue your journey through time, tap continue and we'll travel to the heart of ancient Rome. You enter a peristyle garden. Marble columns surround you. Sunlight dapples the floor, warmed by a fountain spray. All around are potted plants and clipped hedges. You might mistake this for the suburban villa of a wealthy Roman, except that you aren't in the countryside. You are in the middle of Rome, beneath the shadow of the Colosseum. Welcome to the Palatine Hill. It is late afternoon, the year 81 CE. The Emperor, Titus Flavius Vespasianus, surveys the vista from his palace. His empire stretches from Britannia to Egypt, from Spain to the Near East. Behind him, the recently completed Colosseum stands as a trophy. In front of him, Rome sprawls in a sea of red tile and white marble. As you walk the gardens, you hear the murmur of water from pools and fountains. Here, nature is tamed, ordered, a soothing antidote to the noise of the city. But who really rules Rome? The emperor, or the wealthy few who live in the heart of the city and line their pockets while the plebs fight to the death in the sand? You turn to leave the garden, passing under a triumphal arch carved with scenes of conquest. Through a series of courtyards and colonnaded walks, you come to a house, richly decorated. Its courtyard is filled with statues and lush plants. This is the house of Publius Fannius Senato. He is a senator, a member of the equestrian order, a former governor of Asia Minor, and tonight, he is hosting dinner. In a second courtyard, shaded by a trellis covered with ivy, a serving girl pours wine for guests already seated at the dinner table. They gossip about recent gladiatorial games. Across the table, an old man in a purple robe reclines against a cushion. This is Senatus. He gestures with a finger for silence. Look, here comes the master of the house, Publius Fannius Secundio. He's wearing a white tunic cinched at the waist with a golden belt. His red slippers are embroidered with peacocks. He wears a laurel wreath on his head. You catch sight of a slave bearing a silver tray laden with goblets and perfumes. At the far end of the table, a young man leans forward, eager to please. This is Publius Fannius Secundio the Younger, the host's son. You exchange glances with him. He winks, throws back his head, and cries out. To the glory of the Flavians, other voices join his, and the room thrums with conversation. You glance down at the table. Everything is laid out on a stone slab. In the center, an ornate silver dish holds roasted peacock. On either side, loaves of bread and bowls of fruit. Around the rim are goblets of wine. A silver ewer sits beside a plate of figs. The party rages on, but let's eavesdrop on a pair of men at the far end of the table. These two senators are rivals discussing politics and trading barbs. One is tall, bald, with a long white beard. He speaks quietly, carefully choosing his words. The other, short and stout, waves his hands for emphasis. A slave refills their goblets as they speak. Who will prevail? The quiet speaker, the quick-witted one, or perhaps the one with the most powerful connections? Only time will tell. Are you ready to decide your own fate and test your mettle against the gods themselves? If so, follow the voice to the temple of fortune, where fortune favors the bold. You are here for dinner. The year is 79 AD. The place, the Roman countryside, just south of the capital by the sea. The house is large. The owner, a member of the equestrian class, newly rich, newly influential. He has risen from farming to finance, built this house with his own hands and filled it with the spoils of war and conquest. In 3 days' time, the Senate will gather in the forum, but for tonight, they are at leisure. Now the ash has settled. The streets of Pompeii are silent once more, but not far away, in the palatial estates of Rome's wealthy elite, the candles are just being lit. Silk robes are shaken out, perfumed oil warms in delicate glass vials, and the house slaves hurry to polish the last silver goblets. Tonight you are a guest, not of war or philosophy, but of excess. You are here for dinner. This is no simple supper. This is a convivium, a performance in 8 courses, a delicate choreography of flavors, status, and spectacle. You step through the grand vestibule. A doorman in gold-threaded livery greets you with a nod, not to low. He has seen senators, generals, even emperors come and go. Beyond him, the atrium gleams with marble and mosaic. A pool at its center reflects flickering torchlight. Above, painted gods ride chariots across the ceiling. The air is thick with rose petals and cinnamon incense. And then, the dining room. The triclinium. 3 cushioned couches form a U shape around a low table. Guests recline on their left elbows, sandals off, wine in hand. To sit here is to be someone. The food begins. First, olives soaked in honeyed vinegar, oysters from Ostia, chilled with snow hauled from the Apennines, peacock eggs, boiled just so. Then, dormice stuffed with pork and pine nuts. Yes, dormice, a delicacy. The host smiles, not at you, but for you. This is a performance, a display of wealth, refinement, and subtle dominance. The centerpiece dish arrives under a dome of steam, a whole roasted flamingo, its feathers plucked, but its beak intact, curled dramatically on the silver platter. It is not for taste. It is for awe. Wine flows freely, always mixed with water, never straight. To drink unwatered wine is barbaric, unless, of course, you wish to make a point. Entertainers drift through the room. A young boy plucks a lyre. A poet recites verses about love and loss. A Syrian acrobat performs a handstand on a marble dolphin. And all the while, your host watches. Not just you, but your reactions, your laugh, your alliances. This dinner is a weapon, a theater, a negotiation. Whispers swirl about land disputes, secret marriages, political maneuvers. The food distracts, but does not dull. You reach for a fig, its skin glossy, its center filled with sweetened cheese and pepper. The final course, a gentle farewell from the kitchen. Slaves silently begin clearing away the dishes. The torches burn low. A breeze from the courtyard brings the scent of lemon blossoms. You have survived. You did not speak out of turn. You did not spill your wine. You play the game. As you leave, you are neither full nor hungry, neither honored nor dismissed. You were seen, and for now, that is enough. This is Rome. The year is 80 AD. You are exhausted. The Forum, the Palatine, the Colosseum, the sewers, the shops near the Forum, the Baths of Caracalla, the Tauritum, the Largo de Tor Argentina, the Pantheon, the Circus Maximus, the Domus Transitoria, the Appian Way, the Rostra, the bridge over the Tiber, the Via Sacra, the Campus Martius, the Porta Maggiore, the Suburra, the Merulana, the Aventini Hill, the Forum Boreum, the Lupercal Cave, the Celian Hill, the Capitoline Hill, the Esquiline Hill, the Viminal Hill, the Pinchon Hill, the Baths of Diocletian, the Piazza Vittorio Emanuele, the Via di San Andreas, the Via del Corso, the Largo di Torino, Argentina, the Column of Facas, the Basilica of Maxidius, the Basilica of Constantine, the Temple of Hadrian, the Temple of Minerva, the Temple of Venus, George and Apollo, the Altar of the Lady, the Temple of Antoninus and Faustina, the Temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, the Regia, the Senate House, the Forum Magnum, the Basilica Aemilia, the Temple of Saturn, the Temple of Concord, the Arch of Titus, the Arch of Septimius Severus, the Colosseum, the Clivus Capitolinus, the Palatine Hill, the Forum Magnum, the Portico of Octavia, the Theater of Marcellus, the Mausoleum of Augustus, the Via Sacra, the Temple of the Virgins, the Roman Forum, the Basilica Iulia, the Mosque, the Forum Magnum, the Rostra, the Temple of Bologna, the Spanish Steps, the Pinchon Hill, the Villa Borghese, the Piazza Navona, the Pantheon, the Trevi Fountain, the Piazza del Popolo, the Castel Sant'Angelo, the Vatican City, the Janiculum, the Isola Tiberina, the Keyhole View, the Gianicolo Terrace, the Pyramid of Caesar, the Porta Matronia, the Porta San Pancrazio, the Porta San Giovanni, the Aurelian Walls, the Porta San Paolo, the Appian Way, the Catacombs of Rome, the Catacombs of Calixtus, the Catacombs of Domitilla, the Via Appia Pignatelli, the Appian Way Park, the Basilica San Clemente, the Church of Santa Maria in Cosmedin, the Church of San Giovanni in Laterano, the Lateran Palace, the Scala Sancta, the Basilica di San Pietro, the St. Peter Square, the Vatican Museums, the Sistine Chapel, the St. Peter's Basilica, the Vatican Library, the Castel San Angelo, the Roman Forum, the Colosseum, the Palatine Hill, the Largo di Tor Argentina, the Pantheon, the Campo Vaccino, the Circus Maximus, the Appian Way, the Porta Matronia, the Porta San Giovanni, the Porta San Paolo, the Aurelian Walls, the Piazza Venezia, the Campidoglio. Good evening. Welcome to Rome. Do you want to visit the real Rome? Here we speak Latin and eat only figs. Wait, what? We speak Italian, of course. We eat pizza. Much better. If you want to know more about Rome, click on the bell icon.